Here are the video solutions for NCFE Level 2 Functional Skills Maths. This is section B, which is the calculator section, and this is from October 2019. So let's take a look at question 2A. So this is a very challenging question. So first of all, we know that we're dealing with an ice cube which has got a side length of 2.5. So what we want to work out is the ratio of its surface area to its volume. So a cube has 6 sides, and each face will have an area of 2.5 by 2.5. So this is the surface area of this cube, and 6 times 2.5 times 2.5 comes to 37.5 centimetre squared. Its volume is going to be 2.5 times by 2.5 times by 2.5, and that comes to 15.625 cubic centimetres. So the ratio is area to volume, so surface area to volume is 37.5 to 15.625. Now we want these as ratios of something to 1. So if I'm going from 15.625 to 1, I must be dividing by 15.625. So what I need to do is divide 37.5 also by 15.625. And what I get there is, 37.5 divided by 15.625, I get 2.4. Okay, so the ratio is 2.4 to 1, which is not very nice. So what I need to do here is 2 to 1, here is 3 to 1, so 2.2, 2.4 to 1 is here. Now what I'm usually doing with these scatter graphs is doing a line of best fit, but it's going to be absolutely impossible to do a line of best fit. Normally what you're trying to do is keep the same number of dots on either side of the line, but you can see it's just not working. So if I put my line, let's say here, then these dots are miles away from it. So if I try and move it in this direction, you can see that these dots are too far away from it, so that is not going to work. So there is not a linear relationship between the ratio here and the time. We can see that it's curving like so. So my line of best, oh dear, that's not very good. This is the trouble when in fact you can't. It's impossible to use a ruler for this particular line. Let's try again. So it's going to go down like so. That's a little bit better, but it's a bit wonky. So let's go to 2.4. Going up at 2.4, we are going to take a reading. So maybe this should have been a bit lower. I would say it's halfway between 10 and 15, so therefore 12.5. So 12.5 minutes. Moving on to part B, draw a triangular prism. So a prism is a 3D object where the cross section remains the same. So a triangular one is basically a Toblerone box. So it's a triangle from front all the way to back. So to try and make it a bit more three-dimensional, we'll have to do that. There we go. You could, if you're trying to be fancy, you could try and show some 3D elements to it by doing that. But these lines are probably optional. There we go. There's my triangular prism. Okay, so question 2C. We need to work out the total volume of ice formed when all the water in the hexagonal mould freezes. Now we know that the mould is 24 triangular prisms. So first of all, we know that the volume of a triangular prism is the area of the triangular face times the depth, and we know that the depth is 3.5. So what is the area of this triangular face? So the area of a triangle is the base times by the height divided by 2, and that comes to 3.9 square centimetres. So for the volume, it's going to be 3.9 multiplied by the depth, which is 3.5, and 3.9 times by 3.5 is 13.65 cubic centimetres. Now we know that in total there are 24 triangular prisms, so the total volume is going to be of water is 13.65 multiplied by 24, which is 327.6 cubic centimetres. Now, we know that when it freezes, it is 4% more. So what we need to do is increase 327.6 by 4%. Now, what you could do, there's two ways you can do this. You can either work out 4% of this amount and add it on, or you can, depending on how good you are with your percentage multipliers, you can just do it in one go. Now, the multiplier for 4% is 0.04. It's the decimal equivalent of 4%. It's 4 divided by 100. So this is the multiplier I would use if I want to work out 4% of an amount. So what you could do is multiply this amount by 0.04, and whatever that is, add it to 327.6. But much better is you can just do it in one step. If this is the multiplier to calculate 4% of an amount, if you want to raise something or increase something by 4%, this is the multiplier you use plus 1, so it is 1.04. So the calculation is simply 327.6 multiplied by 1.04, and that becomes 340.704. Do we need to round the answer? It doesn't say anything about rounding, so I'll just leave it as it is. So 340.704 cubic centimetres. Okay, D, we've got a lot of waffle here, but all we need to do is calculate 0.92 as a percentage of 1.03. So 0.92 out of 1.03 is the fraction. To turn a fraction into a percentage, it's top divided by bottom multiplied by 100, and that comes to a total of 89.320. So to the nearest whole number, we're just interested in the first decimal place, so that will round down to 89%. Right, 40 million using numbers. Okay, well, hopefully you know that 1 million is 1 with 6 zeros. So 40 million is just 40 with 6 zeros. So 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you split them into commas, remember that this first comma represents thousands. This comma here represents millions. So here we've got 40 million, 0, thousands, and 0. So 40 million. Okay, so the iceberg will melt as it travels. By the time it arrives, the iceberg will weigh only 25 million tons. Okay, so I forgot what it weighed originally. It weighs 40 million. So it's lost 40, take away 25, so it's 15 million tons left. Sorry, 50 million tons has been lost rather. So what we want to work out is this as a fraction of what it was to begin with. So 15 out of 40. This fraction can be simplified. We can divide the top and the bottom by 5, which is 3/8. So it's reduced by 3/8. Okay, so for question number 3, we know he does 37 hours a week, 48 weeks a year, and is paid £8.25 per hour. So that is going to be 37 lots of £8.25 times by 48. So this is his annual salary, and that comes to 14,652. So let me just write this down in our working box here. So 14,652 per year. Now the first 12,500 is tax-free. He's only taxed on anything above that amount. So what is 14,652 minus 12,500? That is 2,152. So this is the amount that he's taxed on at a rate of 20%. So what is 20% of 2152? Well, the calculation is 0.2 times 2152, which is £430.40. So this is the amount of tax he pays per year. So if he's paying this, his income tax payments are spread evenly over 48 weeks, so his weekly amount is going to be £430.40 divided by 48, and that comes to 8.96 recurring. We might just round that up to £8.97. And what did he pay? He paid £8.96. He thinks he's paid more than he should. Is he correct? Well, the answer is no, he is not correct. Okay, Sonia reads an article about the 5 to 3 to 2 rule. So here we've got a ratio and we can turn these into fractions. 5 tenths, 3 tenths and 2 tenths. We're talking about tenths because 5 plus 3 plus 2 is 10. So what this means is 5 tenths of what she earns is for needs, 3 tenths of what she earns is wants, and 2 tenths is savings. Now, £185 going out with friends, well, that is not savings and it is not needs. So is £185, is that more or less than 3 tenths? Well, first of all, what is 3 tenths of 480? So here we're working out a fraction of a total. So what we need to do is we take our total, we divide it by the number on the bottom, and we multiply by the number on the top. And 48 divided by 10 multiplied by 3, that comes to £144. So this is the maximum that she should be spending on her wants. £185 is way over that. So was it in line with the 5 to 3 to 2 rule? The answer here is no. So moving on to part C. So this is quite a tricky question because this involves reverse percentages. We know that this amount here is 45%. So 45% is £908.64. So if this is 45%, well, what is 100%? So what we're going to do first of all is work out what 1% is. So if 45% is this amount, then 1% is going to be 908.64 divided by 45, and that comes to a total of £20 and 19p, or 1.192. So 100% is going to be this amount here multiplied by, if this is 1%, 100% is going to be 100 times that. So multiplying 20.192 by 100, we get 2019.2, and put a 0 on the end since it's pounds and pence. We need to give our answer to the nearest £10. So we're looking at the value in the units column, which is a 9, so that will round up to 2020. Okay, so part D. So what we need to do is there's 2 statements. The manager of a small business claims that the mean salary has gone up by over 10% in the last year. Let's deal with this part first of all. So the mean is going to be all of these numbers here added together divided by 12. So if you add these numbers together, we should get a total which is 457,260. So 457,260 divided by 12 is 38105. So this was last year. This year, the total, if we add all of that together, comes to 592,580. And for this calculation, it's 592,580. It's not divided by 12, it's divided by 14. And that comes to 42327 approximately. And so this is this year. Okay, so we can see the mean is more than last year, but the statement was, has it gone up by over 10%? So what we want to do is increase this by 10%. 10%, the multiplier is 0.1, but for a 10% increase, the multiplier is 0.1 plus 1, which is 1.1. So 38105 multiplied by 1.1, and that comes to a total, let's just work that out, 38105 times by 1.1 comes to 41915.5. So we can see that this has increased by more than 10%. So what's the question? The manager of a small business claims that the mean salary in the company has gone up by over 10%. So we can say the manager is correct. Okay, was there another part to this question? One of the workers says that the gap between the highest and the lowest has more than doubled. So let's look at last year. Is there anything lower than 15,275? No, this is the lowest. and the biggest, I've got an 85 here. Anything bigger than 85? No. So what is the difference between these two values? So here the calculation is 85, 682, take away 15, 275. So that is a range of 70407. And for this year, anything lower than 15,500, it appears not. So that is the lowest. And is it anything bigger than 157? No. Okay. So what is the difference between these two amounts? So that is 157,250, take away 15500, and that is a difference of, or that is a range of 141,750. One of the workers says that the gap between the highest and the lowest earners has more than doubled. Well, let's double this. And if it is still less than that, then this worker is correct. So 70,407 multiplied by 2, that comes to 140814, which is less than that amount here. So the worker is correct. So the manager is correct, the worker is also correct. Okay, so 3E. Okay, well, the intro makes no difference. We just want to turn 3/8 into a decimal. To turn a fraction into a decimal, remember that this line of a fraction means divide, so 3 divided by 8 is our calculation, and 3 divided by 8 is 0.375, and the percentage is the decimal multiplied by 100, so that is 37.5%. Okay, so for this question what we need to do is we need to plot negative 125, 100. So remember we go horizontally first, so to minus 125 and then up to 100, which is here. And 150 minus 75, so 150 across and down to minus 75, which is here. There we go. So to turn this into a wall, we're just going to draw a line from one point to the other. So there is the wall. Done. Okay. There's another way the volunteers can record the position of an object, measure the object's distance from a fixed point, and measure the angle. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is, well, we can see that the volunteers find an object at the point 100, 100, and we need to mark the point on the grid. So 100, 100. Let me just delete everything everything else before I put on the 100, 100. So we're going across to 100, which is here, and then up to 100, which is this point here. So there is 100, 100, and the volunteers measure it from the fixed point 0, 0 and measure the angle. Okay, so what we need to do here is we've got this triangle here and we're measuring this angle here. So all you need to do is just put your protractor on this and measure that angle. Now what we've got here is a right angle. Now this line, because we're going an equal distance along and an equal distance up, this is going to bisect this right angle, so it's chopping it in two. So this angle here is 45 degrees. So on this occasion protractor is not even necessary, but by all means use the protractor. It's just hard for me to demonstrate on screen. So the size of the angle is 45 degrees. Okay, so the volunteers find parts of a building. Okay, very interesting. And we need to do the plan and the side elevation. Okay, so the plan is the view from above. So if we're looking at it from above, then we will just see the roofs. So this roof here, I'll just do the plan up here so I'm not scrolling up and down. The roof, we will see it as a rectangle. Now we can see that there is an edge along here, so that will be represented by a straight line like so. So this is simply the plan view of this long part here. Now off to the front we will also see two little rectangles here. So this is this block here, and I do a similar one over here. And similarly we are going to see this line here. Now it looks like this line is going to interrupt this line ever so slightly. So this line will go up to here. First of all, let me get rid of a tiny bit of this line here. So just this little bit here and this little bit here. Okay, so we've got this line coming to this point here. Now I'm not sure, judging by this angle and this angle looks slightly different. So it looks like this point here joins up to the top of the ridge and that there's no gap between them. So this line here is going to go all the way to the edge of the big roof, and similarly here. Let's just fill these bits in as well. And then this point here will be at an angle like so, and I would assume it'd be the opposite on the other side, so it will look like that. It's quite complicated with all the roofs going on here. Now the side view is going to be a bit easier. So if we're looking at this from the side, all we're going to see is this part here. So what we have is this kind of rectangle with a triangle on the top with something off, another block off to the right, and we will see this roof, which will be a rectangle, and it will look like that. So for this question we need to explain what Chen has done wrong. So what we've got here is a stride length of 164.5, and it's divided by 4 times the foot length, which is 4 times 18.8. What Chen needs to do is multiply 4 times 18.8 and work that out, and then divide 164.5 by that answer. But she has done 164.5 divided by 4 and then multiplied that answer by 18.8. She should have done this bit first, and that's how she ended up with this answer of 773.15. Okay, so what we need to do is actually do this question correctly. So first of all, what is 4 times by 18.8? Well, that is 75.2. So it's 164.5 divided by 75.2, and 164.5 divided by 75.2 is 2.1875. So which statement do we correct? Well, it's between 2 and 2.9, so it is not possible to decide, which is the third choice there, and these calculations explain our choice. Okay, for this question what we need to do is multiply the probabilities together. So it's 0.35 and multiplied by 0.12. We're not adding the probability because that would mean that the probability of attending both days would be greater than the probability of attending on just the Saturday, which doesn't make sense. It's got to be less likely. And 0.35 times 0.12 is 0.042. We need to give the answer as a percentage, so to turn a decimal into a percentage we multiply by 100, so that is 4.2%. Okay, the next question. So Chen says that the mode of the 9 values is 48. So does 48 appear more than once? No, it does not. None of the values appear more than once, so there is no mode. So that's the explanation. There is no mode, as all the values appear only once. So Chen is wrong. Okay, so the median number of days for the 10 volunteers including Chen was 33.5. Okay, so using that information we can work out how many days Chen attended. So what I need to do is just copy these values down again, which is a bit annoying. 48, 25, 30. There's the first 3. The next 3, 24, 43, 24, 43, 39, I believe it was. That's right, 40, 18, 35. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to work out the median, I need to put them in order and find the middle value. That's normally how we find the median. So 18, 24, 25, 30, 35, 39, 40, 43, 48. Now the median is 33.5, which is here. Now we can see that there are 4 values to the left and 5 values to the right. So Chen's value must be somewhere on this side. Now where will it go? Now we've got 10 values. Because it is an even number of values, that means that when we find the median, instead of finding one value in the middle, we find we're going to get 2 values in the middle, and we take the mean of the 2 values. Now 30 and 35 cannot be the middle 2, because if I were to take the mean of those 2, I would get 32.5, not 33.5. So therefore Chen's number must be between 30 and 33.5. So let's take a look at this. We've got, in fact, we can kind of forget the 30. We've got 30, then we've got Chen's number, then we've got 35, and the median is 33.5. And that's going to be the mean of Chen's plus the 35. Now, the easiest way to work this out is we can see that there is a gap of 1.5 to go from 33.5 to 35. So there needs to be a gap of 1.5 to go from 33.5 down to Chen's. So therefore Chen's would be 32. So Chen's is 32, and we need to, what was the actual question? I don't think it was the number 32. What fraction of the days did she attend? Well, there were 26 weekends, so that's going to be 26 times 2, which is 52. So she attended 32 out of 52. So that is our answer as a fraction, but 32 out of 52 can be simplified. That is the same as 16 over 26, which is the same as 8 over 13. So that is our answer as a fraction in its simplest form. And that is the end of this particular assessment.